I stepped into the Ritz-Carlton lobby, the scent of fresh linens and polished wood hitting me like a quiet command. Marble floors stretched out cold and endless under my heels, the kind of place that made you feel small but sharp. This wasn't just any trip. We had a high-stakes corporate pitch tomorrow, the kind that could lock in a 7-figure client or sink our quarter. And because of some overbooking glitch, I'd be sharing a suite with Amelia, my colleague from marketing. Our eyes locked across the floor as she approached, her stride steady, and my body tightened without warning. Chest squeezed, pulse jumped. Professional distance? It already felt impossible. Like the air between us carried too much weight. I walked up to the grand desk, fingers brushing the cool marble edge, grounding myself against the lobby's hum. The clerk, crisp in his uniform, smiled with that practiced ease. "Welcome to the Ritz-Carlton. Reservation for Sarah Klein?" I nodded, handing over my ID. But my mind was already on the pitch deck waiting in my bag. Amelia stood a step behind, her presence pulling at the edge of my focus. The clerk tapped away at his screen, then paused. "Miss Klein, due to an overbooking, we've upgraded you to a junior suite. But it seems your colleague, Miss Reynolds, is also assigned there. Company booking?" I glanced back at her and she gave a small nod, her voice low and steady when she spoke. "That's fine. We're on the same project." Her tone cut through the formality, calm but direct, like she was used to handling surprises. The clerk processed it quickly, sliding over 2 key cards. "Enjoy your stay. The suite's on the 22nd floor." A bellhop appeared with a cart, loading our luggage, my rolling case and her sleek leather duffel. We followed him toward the elevators, the air thickening with unspoken questions. Why hadn't the company sorted separate rooms? This pitch was too critical for distractions, the deadline breathing down our necks like a storm front. Amelia walked beside me, our steps syncing without trying, and I caught the polished brass fixtures in the hallway reflecting our forms side by side. Her reflection sharper somehow, shoulders squared in that tailored blazer, hair falling just so against her neck. My pulse quickened at her proximity, a low thud in my ears. Back home, in that small town where church bells marked every Sunday and family eyes watched every move, I'd learned to bury these pulls deep. Expectations hung heavy there. Be the good daughter, the focused professional, nothing more. But here, in this gleaming hotel, with the city's pulse outside, it all surfaced sharper. I questioned my work focus already, wondering if the pitch's pressure was stirring this, or if it was her, steady and close. The elevator waited, doors gleaming. The bellhop loaded the bags and stepped back. "Enjoy your evening." Amelia pressed the button for 22, and the doors slid shut, enclosing us in the rising hum. The space felt smaller than it should. Mirrors on 3 sides, throwing back our images endlessly. Her perfume lingered, subtle, something like cedar and citrus, cutting through the faint metallic scent of the air. I shifted my weight, staring at the floor numbers climbing. "Big day tomorrow," I said, keeping it clipped, professional. She turned slightly, eyes meeting mine in the reflection. "Yeah, the client's picky about the projections. We need this airtight." Her voice stayed low, steady, but there was an undercurrent, like she felt the enclosure too. Our arms brushed as the elevator jolted softly. Accidental, but the contact sent a jolt up my skin, warm and uninvited. I pulled back, heat rising in my chest, body betraying the calm I forced into my face. The doors dinged open to the suite hallway. Carpet thick underfoot, walls lined with soft lighting. Amelia swiped her key first, the beep sharp in the quiet. The door swung wide, revealing the suite's expanse. High ceilings, a sitting area with plush chairs, and beyond, the vast king bed dominating the bedroom. No separate rooms, just this shared space. City lights flickering through floor-to-ceiling windows. She set her bag down efficiently, movements unhurried, claiming the window side without a word. I followed, unpacking my laptop and notes onto the desk, but my eyes drew to her silhouette against the glass, the skyline framing her like it belonged there. The bellhop left with a nod, and silence settled, broken only by the distant hum of the city below. Amelia glanced over, folding her coat precisely over a chair. We should run through the slides before dinner. Can't afford slip-ups. Her voice pulled me back, but the room already felt smaller with her in it. Towels folded neatly on the marble bathroom counter. Her bag opened just enough to show a glimpse of silk inside. I nodded, pulse still echoing from the elevator, wondering if she noticed the way my hands steadied slower now. The pitch loomed, mirrors of the tension building inside. High stakes, no room for error. And her, right there, making focus a fight. The doors sealed us in with a soft whoosh, the elevator's hum rising like a held breath. Amelia stood a foot away, her shoulder aligned with mine in the mirrored walls, but the space contracted fast. Her perfume amplified in the confines, cedar undercut with citrus, sharp enough to cut through the faint ozone from the vents. It clung to the air, pulling my focus from the glowing floor numbers ticking up. I gripped the railing behind me, cool metal under my palm, trying to anchor the sudden tightness in my chest. This was just transit, I told myself. 30 seconds to the suite. But her presence filled it, steady and unyielding, like the pitch tomorrow. Inescapable pressure building, layer by layer. She broke the quiet first, voice low against the mechanical whir. The client's brief came in late this afternoon. They want more on the ROI projections. Clipped, professional, her eyes on the panel ahead. I nodded, forcing my gaze there too, but the reflection betrayed me. Her jaw set firm, a strand of hair escaping her neat pullback. Yeah, I saw. We can tighten that in the deck tonight. My words came out even, but inside, thoughts raced. The pitch loomed huge. A 7-figure deal that could redefine our roles, or unravel them if we faltered. Deadlines like this mirrored the knot in my gut now. Tight, twisting, no give. Back in my small-town roots, where church suppers dissected every choice and family prayers sought straight paths, I'd wired myself for control. No slips, no distractions. Yet here, trapped in this steel box with her, that wiring frayed. The elevator swayed gently, a subtle shift on the ascent, and our arms brushed. Fabric on fabric, blazer against sleeve. Accidental from the motion, but the contact jolted like static, warmth blooming up my skin. I froze, pulling back an inch, heat flooding my face. Did she feel it? Her reflection showed no change, gaze still forward, but her fingers tightened on her bag strap. The mirrors multiplied us endlessly, her form sharp in the glass, mine blurred at the edges. I studied the details to distract. The fine lines of her watch band, the way her collar sat just so against her neck. Body betrayed the calm I projected. Pulse thudded low, chest rising faster. Was this the trip's grind stirring it, the high-stakes rush amplifying every nerve? Or her, with that quiet command, making the professional mask slip? We hit the halfway mark, floors 11 to 15 blurring past. You think they'll push back on the timeline? She asked, turning her head slightly, eyes catching mine in the side panel. Close enough to see the flecks in her irises, hazel under the soft light. Probably, but we've got the data to back it. I kept it brief, swallowing the dryness in my throat. Small talk anchored us, but it cracked under the weight of proximity. The air thickened, her scent weaving deeper, and I wondered about her. Did she carry the same buried tensions, the kind small towns etched in? Mine surfaced now, unbidden. Sundays in stiff dresses, whispers about who you loved or didn't, the fear of eyes turning. Here, in this gilded cage, it all pressed in, mirroring the deal's risks. One wrong move, and everything exposed. Another jolt, minor, from the cables, and her hand steadied on the wall near mine. Not touching, but the space between hummed. I exhaled, slow, counting the seconds. 22 glowed bright, the ding soft as a sigh. Doors parted to the hallway's hush. Thick carpet muffling our steps. Amelia led, keycard in hand, the beep echoing as the suite door yielded. But the ride lingered in me, that confined charge, setting the tone for what waited inside. Shared space, shared stakes, and this pull I couldn't name yet. The suite door clicked shut behind us, sealing in the hush of high ceilings and soft lighting. I set my bag down near the entry table, the wheels whispering against the hardwood. The space unfolded wide, a sitting area with leather armchairs facing a low glass table, then the bedroom beyond, dominated by that vast king bed, sheets crisp and white like fresh snow. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretched along one wall, city lights twinkling below, turning the room into a frame for the skyline. Plush robes hung draped over the chairs, thick terry cloth in soft ivory, tags still dangling like invitations. I avoided looking at them too long, the idea of slipping into one later, stirring something low in my gut. Amelia moved first, efficient and unhurried, crossing to the bedroom with her duffel in hand. She claimed the window side of the bed without a word, unzipping her bag and pulling out a folder of notes. Her silhouette cut sharp against the glass, the glow from outside outlining her shoulders, the curve of her arm as she set things down. I watched longer than I should, pulse still echoing from the elevator, before turning to my own unpacking. Laptop out on the desk, charger plugged into the wall, pitch deck files syncing with a quiet hum. Essentials only, notebook, pen, the small bottle of antacids for the nerves. But my eyes kept drifting back to her, the way the light played across her hair, loosening strands from the day's pull. She straightened, glancing around the bathroom doorway, where towels sat folded precisely on marble shelves, edges aligned like they were measured. Her bag lay open on the bed, a glimpse of folded clothes spilling out, dark slacks, a silk blouse, nothing out of place but intimate all the same. First real invasion of shared space, and it hit like a slow wave. Back home, my room was mine alone, door locked against prying eyes, the weight of family expectations and Sunday sermons keeping boundaries ironclad. Here, though, with her things mingling in the air, the room felt smaller, walls pressing in despite the expanse. Why did it shrink like that? The pitch's pressure, maybe. Deadlines twisting everything tight. Or her, filling the quiet with that steady presence. I cleared my throat, breaking the silence. Bathrooms shared too, I guess. Schedules. You mind if I grab a quick shower after we run the slides? My voice echoed off the high ceilings, louder than intended in the hush. She turned from the window, hazel eyes meeting mine steady. No problem. I need to review the financials first anyway. Dinner around 7? Her tone stayed even, professional, but the echo carried it back, making the space feel even more enclosed. We nodded, the exchange brief, like testing the air between us. I busied myself with the desk, fingers tracing the leather surface, but the robes caught my eye again, draped there, waiting, the fabric soft under the lamplight. The city hummed faint outside, traffic a distant river, but inside, tension coiled subtle. I wondered about her life beyond the office. Did she carry hidden weights too, the kind small towns layered on like dust? Mine surfaced unbidden, whispers in pews about fitting in, the fear of stepping wrong, loving wrong. This trip stripped that away, or amplified it, with her right there. Amelia sat on the bed's edge, flipping through papers, legs crossed casual. The mattress dipped under her, and I imagined the give later, shared warmth in the dark. Heat rose in my chest again, sharper now. Focus, I told myself. The pitch demanded it. 7 figures on the line, careers hinged on tomorrow's room. No room for this pull. Yet it tugged harder in the suite's glow. Evening light slanted through the windows, pulling long shadows across the floor. We should start on those slides, I said, voice steadier now, gesturing to the desk. She nodded, gathering her laptop, and joined me there, chairs close enough that our elbows nearly brushed. The work called, screens flickering to life, but the room's intimacy lingered, robes waiting, her scent faint from the elevator ride. Schedules aligned for now, but the night stretched ahead, charged and unknown. We settled at the desk, the leather surface cool under my elbows as I powered up my laptop. The screen's glow cut through the dimming light from the windows, casting blue shadows across the room. Amelia pulled her chair close, our knees nearly touching under the narrow table, and opened her own device. The pitch deck loaded fast, slides filling the space between us with charts and bullet points. ROI projections, market analysis, the whole high-stakes machinery of tomorrow's presentation. "Start with the opener?" she asked, her voice pulling me in, low and focused. I nodded, clicking to the first slide. The city lights outside fading as work took hold. Ideas bounced quick at first, her input sharp and precise. "The timeline here feels off. Tighten the deliverables to 3 phases, not 4. She leaned in to point at the screen, breath warm near my ear, carrying that cedar citrus trace from the elevator. My skin prickled, focus splintering for a beat. Back home, in that small town where every decision got weighed against scripture and sidelong glances, I'd trained myself to compartmentalize. Work separate from the rest. Desires locked down tight. But here, with her so close, the lines blurred, the pitch's pressure echoing the knot in my chest. Was it the deadline grinding us, or her intensity, mirroring it too well? We scrolled through, revising as we went, voices overlapping in the quiet suite. "That stat on growth. Bump it up with the latest quarterlies," I suggested, typing fast. She hummed agreement, her hand hovering near the keyboard, fingers brushing the edge of mine, accidental. Heat flared at the contact, brief but electric, and I pulled back under the guise of reaching for my notes. The room's hush amplified everything, the soft click of keys, the distant elevator ding from the hall. Frustration built slow over a key data point, the client's projected returns not aligning clean. "This doesn't track," she said, brow furrowing, leaning closer still. Her arm pressed against mine now, steady warmth through our blouses, and my pulse thudded low, thoughts veering from numbers to the curve of her wrist. I stood abruptly, chair scraping back. "Coffee. Need coffee to think straight." The words came out clipped, excuse thin, but necessary. She glanced up, hazel eyes catching the lamplight. "Good call. Black for me." I nodded, slipping toward the minibar set up in the corner, the suite's expanse feeling tighter with each step. Water boiled quick in the electric kettle, steam rising sharp, and I poured, hands steadying on the mugs. But the pull lingered, her focus on the screen drawing my gaze back. Head tilted, lips parted slight as she reviewed. Small-town echoes surfaced unbidden, family dinners dissecting ambitions, the unspoken rule to keep paths straight, no deviations. This trip cracked that open, her proximity a risk I hadn't planned for. Mugs in hand, I returned. But in the haste, I'd shrugged into one of the plush robes over my clothes earlier, the terry cloth soft against my skin after the day's travel grime. As I set her coffee down, the robe's tie loosened, slipping open at the front just enough to reveal the collar of my blouse beneath. Fabric whispered against my thigh, the slip accidental, but her eyes flicked there for a split second, then away. Heat rushed my face, chest tightening as I retied it quick, sitting back down. "Sorry, got comfortable too fast." She shook her head, small smile tugging her mouth. "No issue. Let's fix this projection." Her voice stayed even, but the air shifted, charged subtle, like the data snag we'd hit. We pushed through, coffee steaming between us, revision stacking up. Her intensity matched the project's grind, unflinching, driving us forward, but it deepened my thoughts, blurring professional edge with something more. The pitch demanded perfection, 7 figures and careers on the line, mirroring this internal storm, control slipping, want sharpening. Hours blurred, screens dimming as night deepened outside. Finally, the deck locked in, airtight. Amelia leaned back, stretching her arms, the robe on her chair catching my eye. Hers untouched, but the idea of her in it later twisted low. "That's solid," she said, voice softening. "Rooftop bar? Unwind before we crash." We took the elevator down again, the descent smoother this time, but the mirrors still caught us. Amelia's profile steady, my own gaze drifting to the line of her jaw. The doors opened to the lobby's hum, and we stepped out into the evening crowd, heading toward the private lift for the rooftop. City lights smeared the glass as we rose, the air shifting cooler, laced with the promise of wind. My robe from earlier was tucked away now, but the memory of its slip clung, a quiet heat under my skin. The pitch deck sat solid in my mind, revisions locked. But unwinding meant loosening the grip on control, and with her, that felt like stepping onto thin ice. The bar unfolded as the doors parted, low chatter humming under string lights, the skyline sprawling endless below. Tables dotted the space, high tops with leather stools, a sleek bar curving along one edge where bartenders poured with quiet efficiency. Amelia led us to a spot near the rail, the metal cool under my hand as I gripped it, wind tugging at my hair. She ordered without hesitation, gin for her, neat, whiskey sour for me, her voice cutting through the murmur with that low confidence. The drinks arrived fast, condensation beating on the glasses, and we settled close, legs brushing under the table's slim rail. Accidental at first, then not pulling away, the contact warmed through denim. Conversation started safe, circling back to the pitch. "The projections held up better than I thought," she said, sipping slow, the glass catching the city glow. I nodded, the sour bite of whiskey grounding me, but my eyes fixed on the curve of her neck as she tilted her head, wind loosening a strand there. Back in my small town, nights like this didn't exist. No rooftops, just porch swings under watchful stars, family voices pressing for the right path, the straight one. Church youth groups warned against straying, and I'd listened, burying pulls like this deep. But here, elevated above it all, the alcohol loosened the edges, her laugh breaking rare when I cracked a line about the client's nitpicks. Real, unguarded, it pulled at something low in my chest. The bar hummed around us, clink of glasses and low voices blending with the distant traffic roar. Her knee pressed firmer against mine now, steady under the rail, and I didn't shift, heat building subtle from the touch. "What got you into marketing?" I asked, steering personal, the whiskey warming my words. She set her glass down, fingers tracing the rim. Needed structure after college, chaos otherwise. Her eyes met mine, hazel sharp in the low light, and the wind tugged again, carrying her scent, faint cedar now, mixed with gin. I wondered about her hidden layers, if she carried weights too, the kind that made proximity feel loaded. Mine surfaced in the pause. Family expectations, Sunday suppers dissecting dreams, the fear of wanting what the town called wrong. This trip amplified it, the pitch's stakes mirroring the risk. Expose a flaw, lose it all. She leaned in closer, voice dropping to match the breeze. "You, small-town girl in the big leagues, takes grit." The words hit direct, and I exhaled, the whiskey blurring the lines. Yeah, church bells and all. Learn to keep things tight. Laughter edged my tone, dry, but her gaze held, unflinching, like she saw the undercurrent. Legs stayed pressed, the rail between us a thin barrier, and my pulse thudded low, body aware of every shift. Alcohol softened the guards, eyes lingering longer, on her lips parting for a sip, the way her collar shifted with the wind. Tension coiled tighter, the city's pulse below echoing my own. The pitch tomorrow, a distant thunder now. We lingered as the bar thinned, stars pricking the sky above the haze. Her hand brushed mine on the table, accidental over the glasses, warmth sparking at my arm. I froze, then let it stay, the contact humming. "Another round?" she asked, but I shook my head, the night air cooling the rising heat in my skin. Time to head back. The elevator waited, descent pulling us down to the suite's hush. But the rooftop's charge followed, wind scattered and unresolved. Back in the suite, the elevator's ding faded into quiet, the door clicking shut behind us like a seal on the night's charge. I headed straight for the bathroom, the marble cool under my feet, steam from a quick shower already fogging the mirrors. Water ran hot, washing away the rooftop's wind and whiskey haze, but not the press of her knee against mine, the brush of her hand. I toweled off fast, slipping into one of the plush robes, the terry cloth heavy and warm against damp skin, tying it loose at the waist. The fabric clung soft, a barrier that felt too thin. Emerging, I saw Amelia had gone first, her door cracked, then shut, the sound of water echoing faint. Minutes later, she stepped out in her own robe, hair wet and dark against her shoulders, the ivory material draping her frame just enough to catch the lamplight. We moved to the bedroom without words, the king bed waiting vast under the low glow. I slid under the sheets on my side, the crisp weight settling heavy, cotton cool against my legs. Amelia followed, claiming her spot by the window, the mattress dipping under her. Steam still clung to the bathroom mirrors visible through the open door, a hazy veil that matched the air between us. The city lights filtered through half-drawn curtains, casting long shadows across the duvet. She propped herself on an elbow, robe shifting slight, and the silence stretched, thick with the day's end. "That bar was a good call," she said finally, voice soft in the lamplight, breaking the hush. "Clears the head before a pitch like tomorrow's." I nodded, staring at the ceiling's subtle pattern, body hyper-aware of the space dividing us. Maybe 2 feet, but it hummed, charged, like the sheets held static. The robe's tie loosened as I shifted, fabric whispering, and I retied it quick, heat low in my chest. Back home, nights ended with prayers whispered alone, family walls thin enough for expectations to seep through. Be steady, be right. No room for this kind of pull. Here, though, the high-stakes grind cracked it open, the 7-figure deal mirroring the risk in every glance. Yeah, projections are solid now. We nail this, it's career gold. My words stayed light, but inside, questions churned. Was the trip stress twisting everything, or her, with that quiet intensity drawing me in? She turned toward me, the bed creaking soft, lamplight catching the damp ends of her hair. Work's always been my anchor. Grew up bouncing towns, needed something solid to chase. Her voice dropped lower, vulnerable edging in, the robe's collar slipping to show the line of her collarbone. I listened, breath steady but pulse thudding under the sheet's weight, the crisp fabric suddenly too confining. Past pressures surfaced, subtle in her tone, the drive born from instability, the need to prove. It echoed my own buried ones. Small-town Sundays, church choirs singing straight paths, family eyes watching for slips. I'd chased the corporate ladder to escape, but pulls like this? They followed, sharper in proximity. The air felt heavy, her scent faint from the shower, clean soap mixed with that lingering cedar, filling the space. "What about you?" she asked, eyes steady on mine in the dim. "You handle pressure like it's routine. Where'd that come from?" The question hung, pulling more than I meant to give. I exhaled, slow, fingers clutching the sheet's edge. Small town, church every week, family pushing for the safe road. Learn to lock in early, no distractions, just results. The words slipped out, rawer than planned, the robe's warmth doing nothing for the tightness in my chest. She hummed understanding, shifting closer, the divide narrowing to inches. Her hand rested on the duvet near mine, not touching, but the heat radiated, unspoken pull tightening like a wire. Body tensed under the covers, aware of every breath sinking ours, the lamplight softening her features. We talked on, voices weaving through the night, her early job scraping by, my escape from gossip-laced streets where love got judged in whispers. Vulnerability cracked open subtle, the bed's expanse feeling intimate, charged. Her laugh came rare again, low and real, when I mentioned a botched presentation back home, the congregation's stares heavier than any boardroom. But under it, the questions lingered internal. This tension, was it the pitch's deadline grinding nerves, careers on the line, or her? The way her gaze held unflinching, robe draping loose, pulling at threads I'd buried deep. The air thickened heavier, sheet's crisp weight pressing. Distance on the bed, a tease now. Finally, she reached over, switching off the lamp with a click. Darkness settling thick. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's big." Her voice faded into the hush, body turning but close enough that warmth seeped across the gap. Silence stretched into the dark, breaths evening out. But sleep evaded me, the unspoken humming on. Darkness wrapped the suite thick, the city's distant hum fading to nothing. I lay there, sheets tangled around my legs, the crisp cotton sticking slight where sweat beaded on my skin. Sleep wouldn't come. Amelia's breathing stayed steady nearby, a slow rhythm that pulled at the edges of my focus. Inhale, pause, exhale. The bed felt vast yet confining, her warmth radiating across the divide, close enough to sense but not touch. My robe had slipped open in the turn, terry cloth pooling at my waist, but I didn't fix it. The air hung heavy, charged from our talk. Her words about anchors echoing mine about straight paths and lockdown wants. Small-town ghosts stirred. Family prayers at dawn, the weight of eyes in the pews, judging what you hid. This pull toward her? It cracked everything open, sharper than the pitch's deadline grinding in my mind. I shifted again, mattress dipping soft, and her breath hitched. Just a fraction, enough to know she wasn't fully asleep either. Pulse thudded low in my chest, a steady thud, like the elevator's hum earlier, that confined jolt replaying. The rooftop's knee press, her hand brushing mine over glasses, the robe slip during work, it all layered now, building to this midnight quiet where control frayed. I stared at the ceiling's shadow, invisible in the black, questions churning. Was it the 7-figure stakes twisting nerves, careers balanced on tomorrow's edge? Or her, with that unflinching gaze, drawing out the buried parts I'd fled the town to escape? Church bells back home rang mornings, but here, in this shared bed, they silenced under the want sharpening low. Words spilled before I could stop them, voice rough in the hush. "Amelia, I can't sleep." She stirred, sheet rustling, turning toward me in the dark. "Me neither. Pitch nerves?" Her tone measured, low, but there was an undercurrent, like she waited for more. I exhaled slow, fingers clutching the duvet's edge, the fabric taut under my grip. "Not just that. It's you. The way everything feels loaded since check-in. The elevator, the bar. I keep watching you and it pulls me off track." Confession hung raw, heat flooding my face, chest tightening as the words landed. Back home, admissions like this stayed buried, whispers to no one, family expectations a chain around truths like hers, wanting a woman, stepping off the path. But the suite stripped barriers, her proximity a mirror to the deal's risks. One slip, exposure, everything lost. Silence stretched a beat. Then her hand reached across the divide. Slow, deliberate, fingers finding mine in the dark. Skin met skin, warm and real, her palm pressing flat against my knuckles. Tension peaked there, a spark jumping from the contact, warmth spreading up my arm like spilled ink, slow and inevitable. My breath caught, body tensing under the sheets, aware of her outline now, the faint curve of her shoulder in the dim city bleed through curtains. She didn't pull away, thumb tracing a light circle on my hand, the touch soft but boundary crossing, electric in the quiet. Heart thudded harder, clarity hitting sharp. The want wasn't stress or stakes, it was her, steady and close, unraveling the locks I'd built. Small-town fears surged. What if morning brought judgment, like the congregation's stares? But her grip held, measured response in the squeeze, words unspoken but felt. We stayed like that, hands linked across the gap, the bed's warmth seeping deeper, sheets whispering with our synced breaths. Pullback came eventual, her fingers slipping away just enough, but the heat lingered, words hanging unresolved in the air. "We should sleep," she murmured, voice thick, turning back but close still. I nodded into the dark, pulse echoing, internal storm raging, thuds in my chest, clarity on the want, her scent faint on the pillow now. The pitch loomed at dawn, but this breaking point shifted everything. Tension coiled tighter, unresolved. Light filtered in slow, gray dawn creeping through the windows, forcing morning routines. I rose first, robe tying firm, coffee brewing in the sitting area as the suite stirred awake. Dawn light slanted through the curtains, pulling me from the sheets' tangle. I slipped from the bed, quiet. Amelia's form still outlined under the duvet, breathing even now. The hand's warmth from midnight lingered on my skin, a ghost trace that made my fingers flex as I tied the robe tighter, terry cloth rough against the chill. Coffee maker hummed in the sitting area, black brew dripping slow into the pot, the scent sharp and grounding. I poured a mug, steam rising hot, and stood by the window, city waking below, horns faint, lights winking out. The pitch waited, 7 figures on the line, but last night's confession hung heavier, unresolved in the gray air. She stirred soon after, sheet rustling as she sat up, robe draped loose over her shoulders. Our eyes met, brief across the room, then slid away, awkward in the morning's clarity. "Coffee?" I asked, voice low, holding out a mug. She nodded, taking it with a murmur of thanks, fingers brushing mine deliberate but quick, the contact sparking low. We sipped in quiet, perched on the armchairs, the suite's expanse feeling vast suddenly, like the bed's intimacy had evaporated with the dark. Small-town habits kicked in, mine anyway. Keep it straight, no slips, family voices echoing from breakfast tables back home, probing for the right choices. But her presence twisted it, the midnight touch a boundary crossed soft, now echoing in the silence. Professionalism snapped back as we dressed, blazers on over fresh blouses, the pitch deck calling from the desk. "One last run-through," she said, pulling her chair close again, screens flickering to life. Ideas flowed clipped, revisions minor, ROI charts confirmed, timeline locked. Her knee didn't brush mine this time. Space held deliberate, but the air hummed with it, the change dynamic unspoken. I caught her gaze lingering once, hazel steady, and heat rose in my chest, pulse thudding like the elevator's rise. The deal mirrored this now. High stakes, one wrong word, and it unraveled. Careers or confessions, both fragile. Back home, church mornings started with resolve, paths set firm. Here, the pull toward her lingered, a deviation I couldn't bury yet. Packing came next, bags zipping efficient. I folded the robes away last, terry cloth soft in my hands, the ivory ones we'd worn now tucked into drawers, sweet emptying slow. Her duffel closed with a snap, mine wheeled toward the door, the room's hush amplifying every move. "Ready?" she asked, voice even, but her eyes held mine longer, the midnight squeeze unspoken between us. We stepped into the hallway, key cards surrendered at the elevator. The ride down felt vast this time, space between us wide. No brushes, no scents trapping close. Mirrors threw back our forms separate now, shoulders squared for the day. But reflections caught the shift, tension coiled, longing threading through the professional mask. Small-town fears whispered, exposure, judgment. But her quiet nod as doors opened steadied it, the pull intact, unresolved. Checkout blurred at the desk, clerk efficient with stamps and smiles. "Successful stay?" he asked. Amelia answered yes, her tone cutting the air, and we rolled out to the grand entrance, cabs idling under the portico. Horns blared distant, city rush pulling us apart, her to the venue, me trailing. The door swung shut behind, absence hitting sharp as the lobby's cool. The cab pulled away, her silhouette fading in the rear view, that midnight warmth echoing in the empty seat beside me. If you've ever felt this kind of quiet pull in close quarters, share your story below. Subscribe for more tales of hidden tensions that linger.